All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on to lesson 22 of module 5, and we are going to be looking at adding a fraction that's less than 1 to, or subtracting a fraction less than 1 from a whole number. We're going to use decomposition and visual models. All right, you don't have to write this. This is the first thing. We're just going to talk about it. If I wanted to add two things together that did not have a common denominator, what can I do? So if I said, what's 2 meters plus 5 centimeters? Well, you would answer, it's 2 meters and 5 centimeters. You would have to use both labels. How about if I said 2 hours plus 5 minutes? What's that? Well, that's 2 hours and 5 minutes. You have to put both the labels. How about 2 ones and 5 eighths? What if I added those? Well, I have 2 ones, which is my whole number, and 5 eighths. That's what it looks like. So go ahead and write down this next one. 2 plus 1/2. We're going to draw a tape diagram to show 2 wholes, and then another tape diagram to show just a half. Go ahead and pause this while you do that. Yours probably looks similar to mine. You have 1 hole, 2 holes. I made a 3rd hole and I just colored in half. You may have just chosen to make a half. That's okay too. Either way is correct. So in this case, 2 plus 1/2 is a mixed number. So we've seen some mixed numbers before when working with adding, and we've created them from our improper fractions. But it's really no different if I say 2 plus 1/2 and just saying 2 1/2. They go together, they're the same. We're going to do a really quick one here. I think you'll understand this. See if you can figure out what that is. And if you're not sure, go ahead and draw a tape model to help you. Pause while you do it. You should have gotten that 3 plus 2/3 is 3 wholes plus 2/3 is the fraction. All right, the next thing we're going to do is something that's a little more complicated. We're going to say 3 minus 1/4. What I would like you to do is I'd like you to write this down and then draw me a tape model representing 3 wholes. Pause while you do this. Here's what you should have. 3 wholes represented. That's my total. Now I want to take away 1/4. Well, that's a fraction. So I'm going to have to cut one of these into fourths. My suggestion is the end. So if I have to take away a 1/4, I actually have to have fourths to take from. So why don't you cut this last one into fourths, please? Pause while you do that. Mine aren't perfect, which is often the case, but I have 3 wholes still. It's just one of them is cut into fourths. So if I'm going to take away a whole 1/4, I would do that. So what do I have left? Well, I have 1 whole, 2 whole, and then this is equivalent to 3 fourths because 3 out of the 4 pieces are left. Now, we did do this before where we broke this down into wholes and parts. So 3 you can break down into 2 wholes. And since we're dealing with fourths, the other would be 4 fourths. Which if you add them together is 2 and 4 fourths. Then I can subtract my 1/4. 2 wholes minus no holes is 2 wholes. 4 fourths minus 1/4 is 3 fourths. I got the same answer either way. Hopefully you wrote all this down. If you didn't, please take time to do it now. I would like you now to do 3 minus 2/3 the same way we did the other one, where we had 3 wholes and we did subtracting 1/4. So we cut it into fourths. So start with your 3 wholes, and your last piece should be cut into thirds. Please just create it. Don't take anything away yet. Pause while you do that. If that's as far as you got because you knew how to do 3 wholes, great. If you got this next step already, good for you. So I know I'm dealing with thirds, and I need to get rid of 2 of them. So I'm going to actually cut my last piece into thirds. This whole thing is still worth 3. And this is worth 1, and this is worth 1, and honestly, so isn't this whole thing. I just cut it into thirds. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. That equals a whole. But now, I'm going to take away 2/3. Let's do that. 1/3, gone. 2/3, gone. So what do I have left? 1 whole plus 1 whole gives me 2 wholes. And what is this fraction? Well, it's 1 out of how many pieces did I originally have? 1, 2, 3. So it's 2 1/3. Now, I'm going to show you how to use the number bond. So 3, we're going to break it down into 2 wholes. And what fraction piece? What's the other whole going to be? Well, since we're dealing with thirds, it's going to be 3/3. So now I have 2 3/3, which is the same as 3, minus 2/3. And I can subtract it out. 2 wholes minus no wholes still means I have 2 wholes. 3/3 minus 2/3, you know, is 1/3. My answers are the same. If you look at the fraction that was subtracted and the fraction in my answer, what do I notice about those 2 things? Yep, they're both thirds, you're right. But I can also add them together. 2 plus 1 is 3. So I would have had 3/3. So I know I'm correct because I have 2 wholes, and then if I put these 2 together, if I went backwards and I added to find out what I originally had, I would have 2 3/3. These 3 are related. I want you to draw a number bond to show me how they are related. Make sure you make your circles big enough so you can write in them. How are these 3 related? Pause while you do it. You should have had something like this because this is my largest piece. This is my whole. Whole goes on top. And I have 2 parts. Please draw me 2 addition sentences and 2 subtraction sentences to represent this. Here's what you should have come up with. You'll notice that I moved my equal sign in one of them and I went backwards, but it still says the same thing as long as you read it. 4 4/5 equals 4 plus 4/5. So that's a fact family. This is the last piece we're going to do. I know you love number lines, so that's why we're going to practice one more. We are looking at 5 minus 1/4. So what are my endpoints going to be? Certainly not 0 and 1 because I'm starting with 5 wholes. So since that's my largest number, I'm going to put that there. And I'm taking away 1/4. So it's only a small piece, so this will be 4. What will I cut this into? Hint, hint, hint. Go ahead and divide your line into fourths. Pause while you do it. Since these are 1/4 and I'm taking away a 4th, I start at 5 and I go, that's minus 1/4. So what does that equal? Well, we start at the front. 4 and 1/4. 4 and 2/4. 4 and 3/4. So it looks like this. So my answer is 4 and 3/4. Again, I could have taken my 5, broken it down into the largest whole, less than 5. What's left is a fraction, 4/4, which equals 1. 4 and 1 is 5. And then I could take away 1/4. Whole minus nothing is still 4. 4/4 minus 1/4 equals 3/4. I got the same answer. Go ahead and find a partner and work on your problem set. Good luck.